Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Judy Feldhausen. I am so excited to be here today with my absolutely good friend, Bob Wischmeier. Bob, just say hello before we start.
I'll do it. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here as well, you guys. And today I'm visiting with you from the Oregon coast. Actually, I'm sitting here looking out these big glass windows across the deck and right out at the Pacific Ocean. It's raining like crazy, but it's just absolutely stunning, this view. It's unobstructed view of the Pacific Ocean. So that's where I am today.
Oh, that sounds so beautiful, so beautiful. And this is a strange time in our nation and in the world right now. And if you're listening to this on after the fact, and maybe even years after the fact, because this stuff does stay up for a long time, you may think that, oh, this isn't appropriate, but I tell you, it's appropriate for all people at all times. Creating multiple streams of income. Les Brown talks about this in chapter 9, and today Bob and I are going to share with you some of our thoughts and our experiences about multiple streams of income. Not exactly in Les Brown's words, but from our perspective. And this is such an important thing to do. And when I first saw this, creating multiple streams of income, I had a very narrow view of what this meant. And my eyes have certainly been opened through the years since I learned of this phrase, and it has affected so many of us. And we're going to talk about how that has affected us, and what it is, and different ways to think about it, and different ways to act on it. So, Bob, why don't you talk about some of your thoughts about multiple streams of income?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, Judy. Yeah, I couldn't tell you guys how many times over the last 20 years or so that I've made the comment, well, I have other sources of income. We've got a little background noise there. Let's see if everybody could please just mute your computer or your phone. Appreciate it. When I first read this particular chapter, one of the first things that jumped out at me when I was reading Les Brown's information was Rudy Pedrosa talking about his dad. A lot of you know Rudy. Rudy's just a top distributor of Synergy worldwide, just a great guy. And Rudy tells a story about his dad having lost his job after working like decades with the same company. He was something like 50 years old, maybe a little over 50 years old, and his job disappeared. And Rudy talks about that and how in the kind of business that we're in, a multi-level marketing business, network marketing, you can be your own boss, and you're not. There was his dad, 50 years old, and having to regroup, restart his life again. And it was devastating for him. And Rudy just, when he talks about it, he gets teary-eyed. I get that. I worked with a guy. I worked for a company called Kaiser's Nutrition Centers out of Santa Barbara, California, when I was younger. And I worked with a guy named Dennis Blair, really good guy. And Dennis quit Kaiser's, it was a retail store. And he went to work for the company that was the wholesaler that we bought most of our health foods information products from Kean and Lesson, I think they were called. It's been a long time ago. But Dennis ended up being their top salesman, by far their top salesman. And Dennis was telling me one time he'd gone in for his annual interview thinking he was going to get a big bonus, and instead they fired him. And they fired him because they could hire someone younger who they felt could do just as good of a job as he had done. And he was like 50 years old, lost his job, fired because he was too expensive for the company. My good friend told me years ago that you can't get ahead working for wages. And I thought, when I first heard that, I thought it made perfect sense, because you just get by. That's it. So one of the things that Bonnie and I did early on, we took a class, Dave Ramsey Financial University. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dave Ramsey or not, but Bonnie and I took his class. We paid $100 for it and sat together and took that class there in Hamilton, Montana. And it was really eye-opening. And she and I set some goals at that juncture. We were going to get out of debt. We were going to get our home paid for. We were going to be out of debt by the time I was 62. That was the goal.
We may have lost Bob. Well, while Bob is changing rooms or whatever Bob is doing, taking a financial class, so important. Knowing what money is and not being afraid of money, because a lot of people actually fear the idea of money. They fear not having it come into the home. People fear about having so much of it that they don't know what to do with it. You know, that whole idea of fear around money, creating a knowledge about the difference between money and our personal feelings. In coaching, we call it collapse distinction. It's when two things that are separate actually become one in the same. And if you think of the word money, what are you feeling right now? You know, go deep into that feeling and look at where that came from and try to separate the two, the one from each other. And Bob is having internet issues, so we'll have him get back on. But I know what the Rudy Pedrosa story also, that exact same thing happened to us with our family. My husband worked for a company that after he was there for 6 months shy of 25 years, decided to close their doors. They had 100 stores. My husband worked in the main warehouse as an electrician and maintenance for that warehouse. And after 25 years, they just said, you know what, we're being bought out, and this particular small little 100-store company is going to close its doors because it's a loss leader. So after those 25 years, we were left without that income. But luckily, for about 30 years, he had been doing what he calls side jobs. Being an electrician, there's always someone that needs something electrical in their house. And, you know, it was a part-time income. However, when he stopped working for that company, he grew it into a full-time business. And I'm happy to say that he's never spent $1 on an ad. It's totally referral business. Even now during the pandemic, he's still getting calls almost every day for people that need electrical work because they're stuck inside their homes. Their electricity isn't working, and also they're doing things like wanting to put in pools because people aren't going to be happy about that. So Bob is back. So welcome back, Bob.
Yeah, sorry guys, having some internet issues here with big storm. Maybe I'm not sure what the deal is, but anyway. Do you want me to finish what I was saying?
Yeah. So yeah, you were talking about the class that you were taking.
Yeah, we took that Dave Ramsey University Financial University class, and it was profound. You know, we'd set some goals and we met those goals. We got out of debt and it was awesome. But we realized even then that if we were going to make that goal, we had to have multiple sources of income. It couldn't just be my full-time job. So we went to work on that. We ended up, at one point I had 4 rentals and I had farm income and my Synergy job, full-time job. We had a lot of things going on, but we had multiple streams of income. And boy, I'll tell you, it took the edge off. It was awesome.
And one of those types of income is called passive income. And to me, is passive income is that income that you really don't have active participation in. So it's not like a job. It could be part of a job that you did once and is paying off over and over. So when I was in my early 20s and newly married, I would visit Jeff's great aunt. Her name was Maud. She had a lot of passive income. She hadn't worked for years and years and years, and she lived down right off Michigan Avenue in Chicago. Absolutely a wonderful lady. And she introduced me to her financial planner. And she said, at the age of 23, she said, you need to do something and you're going to start investing. And so she set me up with her financial planner, who I used until he passed away about 40 years later. And being able to invest part of my income into something that I really had no control over. At that time, they didn't have 401ks, but they had a lot of other things. And I bought stocks and, multiple different types of bonds and all that stuff, that passive income. All I did was give some money to it every month or so. And I'm so happy that she had the foresight to open my eyes to that, because years later, I no longer have to worry. I don't worry about having a regular stream of income any longer, because I have enough to survive on without working.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's it really works. And there's other things that, passive income, like real estate investing. I know you've done that, Bob, and there's not much you do about it except you buy it, and years later, you can either rent the property or you can sell the property for a profit.
Banked volume in our Synergy business is a bit like passive income when you stop and think about it. Once you've built your business up and your weak leg, your strong leg switch or flip, you can draw on that bank volume. I remember one of our distributors back in the Boston area went through a very difficult time in her life, but she kind of stepped away from Synergy a little bit. She was struggling with some personal issues. But in the meantime, someone came on board on her weak leg who created an enormous income, an enormous amount of volume, which flipped her legs. And she lived off of that banked volume. She was getting, I think, about $3,000 a month just off banked volume for quite a while. So banked volume is kind of a form of passive income, Judy, I think.
Well, and really, Bob, I think that in a way, being in network marketing creates passive income, because you work so hard for years and years to create that customer base. And as your customers continually buy, you're not doing as much as you did to get those customers. This week, I actually got a message from someone, used to be a distributor in 2009. Wow. In 2009, she was a distributor, and haven't heard from her in years. Her kids were really young. She didn't have time to do the business. But she and her husband had been buying from Amazon, but Amazon prices went up. So anyway, she came back and bought a jumbo and got on auto ship in the meantime. And, I worked with her extremely diligently years ago, but I haven't talked to her. And with that auto ship, she'll be continuing to order every month. And I think that is also passive income. Bob is apologizing to me over my phone for getting off and on. He's so sweet.
I'm back.
Oh, okay, Bob.
I better talk while I can, huh?
Yeah, talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk about stacking your assets. I just loved this picture because this just spoke to me.
Yeah. It's like, don't breathe. Don't.
So did you want to talk to us about stacking your assets?
I do. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Okay. So basically what we're talking about here is creating those additional streams of income. And it's not something that you do overnight. It's the kind of thing that just takes some time. And like Judy was saying, she was introduced to someone who helped her figure out ways to make some investments. We did that. The Dave Ramsey thing has everything to do with creating, like investing in good stock market options, that kind of thing. But what we started to, and we did that too. You know, we found some great. We just found a really good a friend to help.
Okay, well, we'll wait for him to come back. But when you look at stacking your assets, sometimes it is a precarious thing. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of, is this going to work? How do I know? And it's just like this stack of stones. Sometimes it's perfect and it's in balance, and sometimes it is not. But if you have a lot of assets, the neat thing about that is that if one fails, another one is still there to back you up. Just like when my husband lost his job, he had the knowledge and the customer base to be able to continue doing his business and making an income. And so when you think about the assets, what kind of assets can you stack? And Bob, I think you're back.
I'm back. Yes, I'm so sorry, you guys. I have no control over this at all. So just, you can bear with me. But what I was going to share with regard to stacking assets for me is Bonnie and I took a really hard look at what do we have available to us. And we had decided that we had a home in Montana, and we had a big barn on that property, a horse training facility. We turned that into a home. We rebuilt a barn and made it into a really cool house. And we had a huge house already. So we made it into a duplex. So we had 2 rentals there. And then we built a shop to match our barn house, and I built an apartment above it. And by the time I got done remodeling and creating the barn house, I had 3 rentals on the same property. We just were looking, how can we do this? We had a little farm that we owned in North Idaho. So we went there and we rebuilt an old schoolhouse into a home and rented it, and had farm income plus that rental. And I had timber on the property, so we sold timber off the property. And we just looked at every possible way that we could to create and stack some assets and make some money off what we already had. And that's how we did that. And the timber sales were huge. That was significant. But then we had.
Well, we'll hear the rest of Bob's story later. But when you look at stacking your assets, I just want to, is that you, Bob? Nope. I just want you to think about the fear involved in that, and the belief that it's impossible, or I can't. And really, the difference between can and can't is a mere 2 letters, right? So when you have this feeling of I can't do what he did, I can't build a barn, which I could do with help, I guess, but not one of my strong suits. But what can you do to make a difference? So maybe it's not building a barn, but maybe it is finding help to build a barn. Maybe it's learning how to do something small around it. I always say that with a new project that I'm unfamiliar with, that you say yes and then you figure it out. Last week, Dan talked about the whole Zoom platform, and it can be a scary thing, looking at getting on and trying to be the expert when in reality you have no idea what you're doing. But in these times, I believe that people are more forgiving of the uncertain and the unknown. So it's okay to jump into something, especially now, because we have a forgiveness that hasn't been there for as long as I can remember. Oh, I thought that was Bob.
Yeah, it is. I'm back on. I'm using my phone this time, Judy. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. I thought that was an unusual number. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. Well, thank you, you guys. Hopefully we'll be okay now, just being able to connect with the audio. For me, and I just wanted to share this on a personal note. You know, we all know each other on this webinar. We've been friends now for a very long time. And, you know, I grew up under some challenging circumstances. That's just how it was. Okay. And that's the end of that. But in the home that I grew up in, there was a lot of uncertainty. It was challenging. I can't lie. It was hard. And I was always afraid. I mean, I didn't even want to come home from school, you know, every day. It was like that at our house. And so as I grew older, there were just certain things that had to happen in my life. I had to have security. It's been extremely important to me. And especially when I met Bonnie and we got married and started having a family, I just felt like I have to have things secure. And I think that's one of the things that really drove me personally to try to stack some assets, to figure out ways to create additional income for our family so that we had that stability, stability in our home. So my kids didn't ever have to worry about what was going on at home, or that there was going to be food on the table, or whatever the case may be. That was hugely significant for me. So that was really my why back in those days, is I just felt like I've got to make things as stable and clean and comfortable for my kids as humanly possible. And so that's what we did. And we just sought ways to find assets that we could stack up and create multiple streams of income so that we didn't have to just only rely on me having a full-time job. And it worked for us. We were able to pull that off, Judy.
And that's really because you took the I can't out of it, dropped those two worthless letters at the end, and really created an I can attitude. And that I can attitude, just starting with possibilities. And you know, you've heard for so often being inside the box, right? Inside the box. Well, I believe that when you are inside the box, you can't see over the lid, right? You can't.
Right.
There's just no way. So years ago, I decided to get rid of the box. So now the view that I have is absolutely amazing, because I can see so many possibilities. Some of them I want, some of them I don't want. But the great thing is, not only can I see them, but I can make a decision on what is the next best thing. How can I add to my income in additional ways? We were talking at the beginning of this program that there's so much going on right now with education and training, and it's so moving to online versus offline. I spoke to so many speakers last week who said, I'm looking for speaking opportunities, but I'm looking for speaking opportunities, paid speaking opportunities online. So people are moving their platforms from having a crowd of thousands in an auditorium to a crowd of thousands on the internet, and that can be done in platforms just like we're using now. So so to look at the possibilities of what you know, who you are, and adding to that. And we put up some of those possibilities on the slide here. You know, which of these work for you? Which of these actually give you a little buzz in your belly? Is it doing some type of freelancing? Is there a craft that you like that maybe you could earn income from? Is there any kind of gigs that you can do? You know, even people are singing online and making money from that. Any type of online businesses, creating a course from what you used to do or what you know now. You can charge for that. And I spoke to a professional this week. His name is Iman, and he helps people create courses, and those courses are selling for tens of thousands of dollars. Can you imagine people spending that money for an online course? And it's happening. You know, maybe you want to spread your message by speaking. We talked a little bit about investing. That should be a priority for everyone. And starting a physical business right now may not be the thing to do, but with so many businesses going out of business after this, the stay-at-home order has stopped, it may be a perfect time to start a physical business, because there's going to be a lot of retail for rent, I believe.
Well, you're right, Judy. It's I was thinking here just now that how blessed we are with regard to having the kind of business that we have with Synergy worldwide as independent Synergy distributors. The fact that we can stay healthy, that's hugely significant, because when you're looking to try something new, you know, to reach out and to create something new, that requires energy. And if you're sick and tired, it's pretty hard to get up the for the desire to even try something new, you know. And so there's something to be said for just staying in good health and staying on the high side of things and being positive, taking that cant out of the equation. Bonnie keeps telling me that she's going to open up a brain surgery clinic out at our farm. She hasn't got started on that. She's a little concerned about that first patient that she's going to have, but I am too. I told my sons when they got married, they should marry a woman who's just a little bit crazy, and they'd have a pretty happy life. That's what I did. I married a crazy woman. It's been really helpful. But I wanted to share just really quickly a couple of little ideas. I have a friend talking about crafts and things of this nature. I've got a buddy who I worked in a cabinet shop with when we were much younger, and he was a really neat guy. Jim was his name, and he went off. He had an entrepreneurial spirit, and he would go to trade shows. He I don't know. He had like a little thing you put around your neck and hooked onto your safety glasses so they could hang on the front of you. You guys have all seen those before. They come from China probably. And he sold things like that. He started a little bit of an import business, right? And at one of his trade shows, something occurred, and Jim ended up inventing lanyards. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but there was a time when there weren't lanyards, you know, around your neck with your tag on it, you know, your name tag or your school logo on the edge. My friend Jim invented lanyards. And when Jim sold his company, he was about 50, I think, when he sold that company. He had 1,600 employees when he sold his company. It all came from just crafts, from being smart, from having that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. We have another friend, Scott Huskinson in Utah, who was making little wooden crafts and selling them at craft shows. And Scott ended up creating an import business as well out of, he lived in Logan, Utah, I think. And Scotty, in his mid-40s, sold his company for $100 million. again, an import business. Started out with just a little craft business, right? And so we look for ways to do things. My sister Cheryl sold jewelry on the side. She was raising 2 children by herself, and she had a full-time job, and then she sold jewelry on the side, that kind of a thing, put her kids through school. Her son ended up double majoring at Berkeley and went on to law school at Georgetown. And all of that from a single mother working multiple jobs to keep her children fed. The incentives are different for all of us, whether we're seeking great income or just trying to survive the day. But any of us can do these kinds of things. We can find things that we have a passion for and make something out of it. So Judy, that was my thought with regard to this whole idea of I can.
Yes, and Bob, I was raised by also a single mom, and I remember her giving me jobs, and I would say, I can't. And in my mind, still to this day, I can hear her say, can't means you won't do it. And that's how I learned to do a lot of things, because she wouldn't let me fail. She just said, it just means you won't. So continue on.
Yeah.
But, sometimes we do fail, right? Everything doesn't work perfectly. And, I learned that lesson extremely well. And, Les Brown just talks about not giving up, just not giving up. Maybe changing direction, maybe changes courses, but try again. It's another one that I know many of you have heard over and over again. If one fails, try again. So this is a picture of my granddaughter Lily, who is in Colorado. We were hiking one day, and she was just going down the road and trying to click her heels together. And she finally did it. And I was lucky enough to catch this picture of her doing that. But it took her a while to do it. She didn't do it the first time. She didn't do it the second time. It's probably a couple hours. But continue to try. And this picture to me also shows celebration, and it shows being content and being able to be happy around things that you accomplish. And Bob, you've heard me say so often that if you fail, you have to celebrate the failure, because there's so many lessons in that failure. What are the lessons that you've learned? Years ago, I had a friend. I'd known him for several years, and I believed in investing, and I believed in him. So I invested in a company that had a product that was absolutely fail-safe. It was a fire retardant product. I saw it work. I knew it worked. I was so excited about how we were going to be a vehicle to be able to stop wildfires and home fires with this product, because it was absolutely phenomenal. And I got on his board. I invested in his company. Years. I was basically doing this full time, trying to help this product come to market. Lo and behold, it did collapse because he did not have the rights to sell the product. It was somebody else's product. And it took a lot of digging to find that out. But he had used all the money, and I had several friends that invested. He had used all the money to actually go to China. He said that it was manufactured in China, so he had to make several trips. But during his Chinese trip, he met and married a woman and had a child, although he did have a wife and 2 children here in the United States. So one day he went to China and he never returned. He had all the money. I'll tell you, that was an amazing lesson for me, because not only did I lose money, so many of my friends lost a lot of money. It was an amazing lesson, but I learned the rules and laws of investing, and it's not always about friendship. There's laws around how to make sure that a project is real. So doesn't mean I would never invest again. I have invested, but I just do it differently now.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, that's a sad story.
Yeah. And his wife was a deaf mute here in the States, and I ended up helping her clean her house and auction all of her worldly possessions, and she moved in with his sister-in-law, actually. He couldn't come back into the country because we got the federal government involved, and he hadn't paid taxes on any of this money. So, he could never come back into the United States. So, we have such great lessons in our lives.
Yeah, we do. Well, Judy, this picture of your granddaughter is awesome. She's just a doll, isn't she? And she looks happy. Look at that look on her face. It's awesome. I wanted to share one last thought, you guys, with regard to this, if one fails, because in life that happens. We face some difficult times sometimes. And you'll remember in history, Charles Lindbergh and his wife, their son was kidnapped. And by the time they got him back, he was dead. And his wife made the comment once that, with regard to that, she says, you're never truly healed from something until you allow yourself to be hurt again. I think of that often, and it applies to business failures as well as other kinds of failures in life. If you really haven't healed until you allow yourself to be hurt again, it's just a true statement. And so yeah, and Bonnie and I have had some failures as well. We lost a home one time, and it wasn't our fault. It was circumstances that we couldn't control. We had a business that failed one time, but we had some successes as well. It never stopped us. We had just enough oomph that we kept going, and so we've had a wonderful life. We really have. Judy, this is one of the coolest chapters in Les Brown's book, I think, because it's an eye opener, and it's a reminder that we can do all kinds of things.
And when we think of our businesses and the customers who don't reorder, or they return product, or they feel that they don't get results, to have that failure is difficult, but we can't take it on and own it. We need to move on and learn from it and do better and take care of the people who love our product. Everyone needs something that we sell. And there are some people that need it to help save them. And if we can just come from that position and help us when we get up in the morning to remember that, and who can I serve today, it's going to make a difference in our business and in our lives, in our attitude. So just continue going on and, click your heels together, right?
Right, exactly. Thanks, Judy.
Thanks. Is there any questions or comments before we hang up today?
So Bob and Judy, I wrote down something at the beginning of your presentation. I put down multiple streams of income allow you to leverage opportunity. And that's the key in terms of having multiple streams of income, whether it be leveraging the opportunity that Bob talked about of having stability in your family life, and that to have the resources to have that sense of stability, or whatever the opportunity might be to be able to do another venture, or to be able to rehab a property, or whatever it might be. But multiple streams of income allow you to leverage opportunity.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, so true. Thank you, Dan. David, I saw you unmute your mic. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, just the only thing I wanted to say is thank you so much for the great presentation and good takeaways. And Bob, I just wanted to thank you again for sharing your experience with Financial Peace University. That's the university, the class that Betsy and I also paid $100 several years ago to attend the class for Dave Ramsey. And that's an excellent class for controlling debts and getting your financial house in order. So thanks for mentioning that. That was great.
Yeah, you bet. It was an eye-opener for us. We've recommended it through the years to our children, all of our adult children. In fact, we gave our materials to, I don't know, one of them. We have so many kids I can't remember. But we gave all of our materials to the kids so that they could, they could take advantage of that as well, our books and stuff. Thank you, David.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments before we wrap this up today?
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Judy. Been great.
Yeah.
We'll be on. I'm sorry. I was just going to say we'll be on the call Monday morning. Judy and I will be sharing some thoughts again with regard to Augmendino and his wonderful Greatest Salesman in the World book. So we'll be talking about that again this coming Monday morning.
Yes, absolutely. I look so forward to it, Bob, and it's always great. Even when you drop off, now and again, it's not a problem. So,
Yeah.
thank you, Christy, for your comment. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everybody. God bless you all, and we'll see you all again before you know it.